This is SciByte, episode 69 for October 30th, 2012. Hi everyone, and welcome to SciByte, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly science podcast. Fresh every Wednesday morning over at jupiterbroadcasting.com and live Tuesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, except for next week. My name is Chris, and joining us every week is our host, Heather. Hey there, Heather.
Hey there, Chris.
Hey Heather, happy science to you.
Happy science.
So what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to take a look at strange quasars, fighting breast cancer, peekaboo, the Mayan Calendar, updates on stories, spacecraft, and curiosity, and as always, take a peek back into history and up in the sky this week.
Sounds absolutely fantastic. Let's kick it off with the news. All right, now we must have a great story after an officially sounding jingle like that, right?
Yes. So, but a tiny bit of science needed before this.
Okay.
We're talking about quasars.
Okay.
And there might be a few people who aren't completely knowledgeable about quasars. I had to brush up too.
All right.
So quasars are short for quasi-stellar objects. They're the cores of galaxies where things are pouring into a massive black hole. But it's so big and so much is falling into it that not everything can actually make its way in. So you have these huge amounts of energy that just can't fit in because there's so much trying to get into the same spot. So these are like huge jets beaming from the inside of a galaxy. They could be hundreds of thousands of times larger. They can be so much bigger. They're emitting like 1,000 times the energy of the entire Milky Way. So these are really very energetic, very bright items. So, and now bringing it back to our story, they're pretty much one of the things that astronomers can see the distant universe with. Because they're so bright, they can spot one of these and then go, oh, there must be something else there. And then they can stop and look for the galaxy and take it from there. However, recently they saw a quasar, but it's very distant, but there was no galaxy there.
Oh.
So they're the centers of galaxies, except for this one didn't have a galaxy with it.
So that's something, again, that we spot far, far away that's not matching our model.
Yeah, now there could be a couple of things going on. Something's got to be feeding it, or it would be starving and it would go out.
Yeah.
So it could be feeding on a handful of stars every year in order to keep, its bulk. I mean, it's about 3 billion solar masses. It's about 3 billion times the amount of the sun. That's how massive it is. That's how much it's going. So, I mean, it's gotten there in about a few million years or so. So it's got to eat for at a certain pace to get there. But because we don't see that galaxy, and because even with infrared, we're only seeing little bits of something that might be there.
Like leftovers?
No, like just barely like a ghost image of something. You're like, it looks like there might be something there. So one of the thoughts is that it could be a galaxy that is so clogged up with dust that absolutely no starlight can get out of it. That only the quasar, being as bright as it is and shooting out as far as it does, could make it out. That's the only light that could make it out of this galaxy. Now, it also gets kind of twisted because our models say that there shouldn't be a galaxy with that much dust that early in the universe. Because in order to make dust, you have to have stars and they have to explode and, going through this process of getting heavier mass. So to make dust. But if the universe is very young, then not enough stars have aged to make that dust. So it's kind of this, okay, so it's this old, it has to be that dusty. However, it shouldn't be that dusty. So now they're thinking, okay, well, maybe it was living the high life and going very fast, and all the stars, were very fast paced in their life, and so that created the amount of dust that could be there. But it's kind of one of those things where just when you think the model is somewhat in the range of, okay, I'm pretty sure that the next week won't surprise us. Nope, it surprises us.
Interesting.
So now in order to make it fit the model, it has to have these short-lived massive stars that would, puff off all their mass. So that would increase the dust in the galaxy, so they would block the light. So
what's the next step now? How do they get more information? It's so far away. What can they do?
Well, train as many instruments that you can, infrared, near infrared, on it that you can. Wait till the equipment gets more high resolution, or till you can get time on a larger instrument that's there now.
Okay.
So if I see it, if you see it on a university telescope, then you're like, okay, now let's call up, a bigger telescope, see what we see. And then you kind of work your way up until you get the time on the largest telescope you can get, or the largest, whatever dish there is. Maybe can you get it to Hubble or anything of that nature? What would give you the best view for the specific range of light that you would need?
And I wonder, too, if this might not end up being one of those, there could be some data within the data that maybe now that they know there's something there they need to look a little better at, maybe they can go back over previous, data.
Yeah, go back and say, well, is there anything else that was taking a picture of something nearby? And then, so we'll see if any more information pops up and they are a little less confused in the near future. We'll see.
That's one crazy quasar, right? Quasars.
Quasar.
Not Qsar.
No.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, any other thoughts on that one?
No, just see where it goes.
Yeah, let's stay tuned. All right, Heather. Well, then let's take a little moment right here to talk about a little something special, especially with the holiday season coming up. I today, on the way home, you can tell it's on my head, because on the way home, I came up with my dad's Christmas book that I always get him like one book every year for Christmas, and I've decided which book it is. And so that I thought, I should remind folks, if you've decided to purchase something online for the holidays or for yourself, please consider using our affiliate links at the bottom of the Jupiter Broadcasting website. We have them down there for Amazon and for Netflix and for the Newegg and for the ThinkGeek and the Best Buy. And we have a Chrome extension and a Firefox extension. Yeah, those bad mamma jammas, boom, automatically takes your shopping session for you. And at other affiliates we don't even have down there, like Monoprice, some other countries and things like that. But maybe you want to get something for yourself. Heather actually has a couple of really great picks this week, and some really compelling stuff here, Heather. One of them also might be a great accompanying gift, but I'll get to that. Your first one is the International Space Station Owner's Workshop Manual.
Yes. If you're interested in the nitty-gritty of what's going on and kind of how it got built up and put together, and this wasn't just random picks either. They actually fit into the show. So stay tuned later for more. But yeah, it looks really cool. You see those ones about, the Star Trek, ships and stuff. But this is for the space station. Yeah, you do see them. I have them for one of the starships, or for a few of the starships. But that's the real deal right there. So that's very cool. And then the other pick is Space Station IMAX, which is available in Blu-ray and also available in Blu-ray 3D, which I would think that if you just got yourself a 3D TV, this would be a treat. Yeah.
That could be really cool. All right, so this will fit in with the show later today too, as well.
Yes, it will.
Stay tuned for that. So check those out. We'll have links to those in the show notes. And when you grab those, it supports the network. And that, I got to imagine taking that IMAX, putting it down on Blu-ray, that has got to look really, really great. So thank you to everybody who supports the network by using our affiliate links or grabbing those links right out of the show notes. But with that done, that means it's time for the News Bite. All right, Heather, what is the first story in the News Bite?
The first story is suppressing tumors and metastasis in breast cancer.
Oh.
So this one caught my eye. I have family and coworkers' families that have dealt with this. So this is a specific protein that is necessary for lactation, actually, that inhibits the critical cellular transition that starts breast cancer and the metastasis of it. So they've actually had a report that it's like a suppressor. So they find it, and so maybe you can take the low levels of it to diagnose it, the early stages, and they've actually seen it in both animal and human. So it works kind of both ways here. So normally this factor, it controls the genes that allow for milk production. But when those levels are low or absent, those cells actually kind of turn more like stem cells, which then morph into mesenchymal, I know I crashed that, cells. So those cells can actually change shape and appearance and then migrate elsewhere through the body, and that's sort of how the cancer spreads.
Wow.
So what they're able to do is take this protein, and it's actually suppressing that transition into those cells. So can you regulate this? Can you use this to, as a treatment option? Can you use it also as a early detector so you can detect it early, see how when it's starting to turn into metastasize again? So you're like, oh, now we need to really pay attention to what's going on. Can you actually use this or a drug that's based off this to, suppress it, or, try to create something that might be able to treat it? So now they're kind of going through and they're like, okay, this is just one little molecule. Let's see how it works with everything else. And this is the typical, you get into these where it's like, okay, something works. Now let's figure what out of this, which parts work, and do they have to work together, or... So
it's definitely an awesome first step.
Yeah. And they've actually, it was kind of data in the data almost, where they went back and they saw, okay, well, the levels of this were extremely low when the breast cancer cells were, multiplying very quickly, or chances in morbidity or anything like that. So they went back and they saw that past studies had seen this too. So kind of working forward to see what they can get out of this and hopefully make some really good steps in this.
Yeah, awesome. And you have a story that I showed up on the screen for a little bit, but if people want to check it out, Heather has that link to Medical Express, that's with an X.com, and we link to that in the show notes.
Yes.
Should we talk about the science of peekaboo?
Yes, let's.
Okay, tell me the science about it.
Okay. So kids,
I'm familiar with this technique, by the way.
Yes, they cover their eyes and they're invisible. That is what they see.
That's the law.
Yeah, that is the law. And they actually, nearly all kids come to the same conclusion that covering your eyes makes you invisible, that no one can tell you there. So the researchers at University of Cambridge actually did some tests to figure out where this comes from. So first they took kids and they put little eye masks on them and they said, okay, can we see you? And they're like, nope. Then they took the masks and put it on one adult, and they're like, okay, can Joe see Susie? Nope. Susie has the eye mask on. She's not there. And so they started doing this all together. So, okay, so adult can't see kids, adult can't see each other. Then they had another set of kids who they put little goggles on, and they did one-way glass. One set was totally blacked out, and the other set was, one-way mirror. Now, of the kids who actually got the concept of a one-way mirror that you could see out and they can't see in, they all thought that it was just the same as blacked out goggles, so they couldn't be seen. It's like, I can see you, you can't see me, I'm invisible. And so the whole idea is, okay, so where is this coming from? It kind of getting as much information as you can out of a 3 or 4 year old. They kind of got the idea that they realized that their bodies are still there, that they didn't become ghosts, but the self was hidden. So it was like, if the eyes weren't in contact, then you weren't there. Of course, your body's still there, but you weren't there yourself.
Wow. That's complex.
Yeah, it's kind of strange that they thought, like,
I would have thought that the kid just thought, well, because I can't see you, you can't see me. And it just wouldn't have gone further than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what they originally thought. But I found it interesting that when, even when one adult had, you know, uh, covered their eyes, that another adult couldn't see them. And they actually did this with averting eyes, too. So the researchers looked straight at a kid while they were looking away, and then the kid was looking at them while they were looking away. And in both cases, they kind of figured out that they weren't being seen. If our eyes don't meet,
yeah,
you can't see me.
That kind of really blows me away because it's that's not. I mean, that's just not what I'd ever kind of observed. But I guess I can kind of see the logic to it. Like Mackenzie says in the chat room, says, "Wow, that's a deep sense of soul versus body for a 3-year-old."
Yeah,
I mean, I kind of agree with that sentiment. It really is.
Yeah, but it also makes sense that like when you're yelling at a kid, they kind of look away. It's like, whoop, I'm gone. I'm not here.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, you look at me in the eyes when I'm talking to you.
That's why they really don't want it, because then they're there. You're like, no.
Huh. Wow. Well, now when my kid is playing peekaboo, I realize he's actually having some sort of Zen experience of some sort, self-realization. Wow.
So I found it a very interesting study. However much you believe, or however much you like get that feeling, I actually kind of believe it a lot. But
I could see it. Yeah, I could see it.
It's a very interesting story that there's the science behind peekaboo.
Yeah, wow. You know what? It turns out there's a science behind a lot of things. That's one of the things you keep proving right here on this show. And with that said, I believe it's time for the 2-Byte News. The 2-Byte News! The 2-Byte News!
Bye.
Wow. I gotta tell you, I was all over this office when I did that.
I kind of felt that.
Yeah, I burned some calories. All right, well, what is our first story in the 2-Byte News?
All right, so it's not great for a audio show, but there is a link in the show notes to a Milky Way image that is 9 gigapixels. This is huge. I mean, if the resolution was just like there was on a typical book, it would be like 29 and a half feet by 23 feet. That's how big it would be. This has like 10 times more stars than any previous study like this.
They've zoomable view of more than 84 million stars.
Yes. So there's a lot of data in it. You can actually see the formation, the evolution of our galaxy, spiral galaxies in general. So it's just this huge data set that is also really awesome and zoomable and pretty. But
yeah, they have a gigapan of it, which is killer. So if you want, you can go in there and kind of like go Google Maps on the Milky Way.
Yes. It was, it's a visual one, but it was just so awesome. I had to include it.
Yeah, folks, you got to go check that out. They have, like Heather said, she has links to it in the show notes, so you can go get that. All right. Well, wow. So you know how you're living in the future. It's like because that's the future right there. And this next story, I don't know, Heather. I'm worried you're going to tell me that the Mayans had it right or something and scare me.
No, we've talked about this before. The Mayan calendar does not prove the end of the world. There's calendars that prove past that. Right. In fact, the Mayan people are being annoyed by this.
Okay, really? Okay, good. See, I was worried this might go in a different direction.
No. So the Cultural Ministry of Guatemala, they're having this big event and, 90,000 people are expected to attend and, all sorts of tour groups with doomsday-themed getaways. And the Mayan leader is really trying to get them to, rethink all this doomsday celebration. He's actually, this is the whole idea for them, in actuality, is a turnover. So it's a renewing of the calendar, something almost like the end of the year. It's a brand new year. Let's make all our resolutions. So he said, the fact that you're making it doomsday kind of, it's anti-celebration. It's disrespectful. So he was like, instead of that, why don't you go to the 5 sacred cities and mark the event in our cultural way instead of trying to get everyone to come here because you want them to celebrate the end of the world as long as they pay first.
I guess I can see his point. So they're using it as kind of like a tourism lure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the real people.
Bad name.
Yeah, so the people of the cultural, that are deep in it, they're like, this isn't end of the world. Would you please stop selling our culture off as end of the world? and like actually celebrate it in the way that he feels comfortable.
Well, it is kind of funny, though, I gotta say. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
At this point, you just gotta embrace it, because, I guess, you know what? He ought to hold a press conference on December 22nd, 2012, and be like, okay, now can we just all move on? Because really, this should only be the last year that he has to put up with it.
Yeah, theoretically. Unless they decide, oh, wait, we didn't count the calendar right. It's actually.
You know that's gonna happen, right?
Of course it's gonna happen. But on 22nd, we'll try. We're like, all right, can we move on? At least for a little while until you decide to recalculate the calendar.
I can't wait to hear that.
Oh, man.
All right, so we have some gamma rays from space, don't we?
We do. So they're actually the Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope, NASA's. They're said that they're going to make some big announcement on Thursday. They won't say what it is, except that we'll discuss new measurements to investigate ancient starlight. So we'll see.
We'll see. We might know, say, next Thursday.
Yes, next Thursday we will know. Or keep an eye out on Twitter, or you might be able to find something else out.
Right, and just a PSA, we'll be live next Thursday, not next Tuesday at 7:30.
Yes.
We're shifting with Unfiltered to accommodate the election, because we prefer to keep the elections and the politics out of the science as much as possible for you folks.
Yes.
All right, Heather. Well, I have a little light flashing on my dashboard here that says, "Oh, spacecraft." That's what that button says. Spacecraft update. All right, what do we got?
All right, the shifting of the peoples. We've got an increase in the population of the space station.
Oh.
With 3 new astronauts. One, Kevin Ford of NASA, Oleg Novitsky of Russia, and Evgen Tarklin of Russia also.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. So they're going to stay there till March. So right now we've actually got 6 people on the space station. Oh. They didn't come alone. They came with 32 fish. So they're going to be placed in the aquatic habitat up there to see how fish adapt to weightlessness. Wow,
I'd love to see pictures of the space station's fish tank.
Yeah, they're probably around somewhere.
Probably.
So we've also got the Dragon spacecraft. They delivered all the material. They actually landed on Sunday, so they brought back 2,000 pounds of spacecraft equipment and hardware and everything else. They've also got the Russian Progress spacecraft is going to be arriving on Wednesday, October 31st. So they're actually going to arrive, and there's going to be food, equipment, and they've actually said they're going to include some Halloween treats.
Oh, festive.
So a little festivity for the astronauts. Mix it up.
Keep their spirits up.
Yeah, keep their spirits up. Keep them bouncing around the space station. Sugar high in space.
Keep them floating off the walls. Yeah.
Another whole new that is a whole new depth to bouncing off the walls.
It really is. They really can do it. Like, that is the place to have a sugar high if you're going to have one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. All right. Well, I see we have some general updates here too, don't we?
Yes. Last week we were talking about the San Francisco meteor. Actually came through and they saw this big fireball, and it's like, okay, will we find anything? So first of all, somebody came up and they went, you know what? I think I heard something on my roof. And sure enough, they go up onto the roof. She and the neighbors find a ding on the roof. So they come in and they look at it and they're like, you know what? It's not a rock. It doesn't look like it's heat from reentry. It's got these layers. It's not something. And then the next day, about 2 blocks away, somebody else pops up with one of the same nature. So then they go, okay, can we see that again, please? They came back and said, oh, wait, no, that is a meteor. This other guy also has a meteor. So it's like 2.5 miles away. So they cut it in half. The guy found it. He cut it in half and actually saw, yes, this is a meteor. So then they went back to hers, and both of them are meteorites now. So if you're in the Marin-Sonoma counties, northwest of San Pablo Bay area, there's maps in the show notes. Go check them out. See if you're in the line of sight for that. Check your backyard.
Yeah, you might have gotten something. You know what strikes me about that story more than anything is that how similar the meteorite rock looked to Earth rock, even to trained eyes, which really just kind of drives it home that while they are foreign objects out there, we're all just kind of being made from the same stuff. It's pretty crazy. And it's interesting that they didn't even really realize it wasn't an Earth. They thought it was an Earth rock. Like it looks just like your average rock. Sorry, somebody just threw it through your roof kind of thing. I find that fascinating.
Well, it didn't even go through the roof. It just kind of dinged it, so it bounced off it. But a lot of times it is. If you're not looking for zebras, you're looking for horses. So you're like, okay, this doesn't match up. And then it comes out, no, wait, this is a very rare type. You'd assume just wouldn't be the norm. So they go back, I was like, oh, wait, no, actually, it's, weird layering that looks like weathering instead of burning through the atmosphere. So it's all these things combined together that, assume that, okay, yeah, it's probably a horse. And then come back, no, wait, it's a zebra.
There you go.
It is a colorful zebra.
Definitely a zebra.
It's really weird.
It's a rainbow zebra. All right, well, should we blast off to Mars and do a curiosity update?
Let's go.
And liftoff of the Atlas V with Curiosity.
Touchdown confirmed.
Oh, I got a little carried away there. All
Okay.
right. Well, so what's the old rover up to?
All right. So the Mastcam was used to view some soil samples on the observation tray. So we've been talking about it's been scooping up samples and put some on the observation tray. So it turns around and looks at it. It's just a flat disc of various colors. So they can look at it. They can kind of see what the size distribution is. You can actually see in the scoop, it shakes it a little bit. If you watch that, you can get a really good idea of the exact layout of all the soil. So you can get say these are various sizes. So then before you even take it to the various instruments, you can kind of get an idea. It's like, okay, this one is heavily of larger size particles. Oh, this one's very small size. So they had one little portion of it, that of the fourth scoop, that was delivered to the Chem Min. So they're being able to analyze that. You got the Chem Cam, which is the laser. It got to shoot lasers. It did a depth profile, actually. It shot 600 times at a single location. So it got like a millimeter in, which is 4/100th of an inch. So it didn't go in very far, but the whole idea is keep hitting the laser on the same spot and take the spectrographic analysis and take it over time so you can kind of see, is the interior of the rock changing? So here's the weathered part outside. Now, if you go in just a little bit, is it different? So you can kind of get a better idea of, oh, no, these rocks are actually of this nature in the interior, and they kind of change on the exterior of the rock.
They show in the little video they put out. They show a video of that laser drilling into like a little sample metal that they have here, and it isn't really. It really just burns a hole in the side of rock, and it gives you an appreciation of the capabilities of this thing. Yeah,
they actually, I believe, recently they also did it to the soil. They kind of lasered the soil. You can kind of see almost an impact crater. It's like, oh, there's soil, and then there's a little dark hole where they lasered it. So, it helps them get a better idea of compositions and stuff. Then you also have the sample analysis. They took some more scoop from that fourth scoop. They used it to, run around in the internal surfaces. So then they brought it over to deliver to all the various pieces. And one of the ones they did it was the radiation assessment detector. This is one where they just look at the general atmosphere. So they say, okay, what's the weather like today? It's a weather vane, almost, for the rover. So they kind of got an idea about the weather and what the radiation levels were. But in general, right now, they're in this rock nest area. This is where, they're sitting now. So they did all the lasers on the rocks. So they can actually see that one of them nearby was actually made of two different types of materials. So they saw this rock, and they had this little darker bit to it, and it's actually making little arches almost. So like you'll see in rock formations. So so it looks like there's a harder material, and then the softer material just kind of weathered away underneath it. But they couldn't really tell, and it was about 8 feet away. So they tried their best to laser it. So they actually shot it 9 different times so they could hopefully get get an idea of both pieces. And they actually were able to take analysis of the two separate materials. So you had, so it hit both of them. They're able to see that there was a significant compositional difference. So between that and some of the images they took, they now have kind of a three-dimensional model of the whole rock that they're able to see. So they can see this model, they can see the different compositions of it. So it's all coming together. So they're being able to take some of the soil, dump it into the X-ray diffractor. So shoot X-rays through it, see how that reacts, so you can get a better idea of the exact, composition of the soil, how the crystals are. So you're using the laser to get the chemical composition. So this is kind of its first stop along the way where they really stop and do all the science they can. They've kind of got, they borrowed the Mastcam also to kind of look off into the distance. So where they're heading to. So occasionally they'll do that. They're like, all right, let's get a better picture of over there. So they can kind of start thinking about where their next spot is going to be when they actually start moving from this location.
Gosh, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you land a robot with a laser on Mars. That's why it has a laser right there.
That's what has a laser, so we can do more analysis. We can see what those rocks are made of.
I approve. All right, Heather, jump in the time machine. It's time we look back. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
It's okay.
Huh. Boy. Jeez.
Short trip this time.
Yeah. Wow, that was short.
Yeah.
Barely any time in the time machine. So this one takes us to November 2nd, the year 2000, just a mere 12 years ago.
That's right. An American astronaut and 2 Russian cosmonauts became the first permanent residents of the International Space Station.
Aha.
So we just recently had some more crew arrive, and that was the first crew 12 years ago. They did a 4-month mission after a Soyuz spacecraft linked up with it. It was much smaller. They've built it over the years. You can see, in the movie or the book, that we talked about earlier, how it built over time. They added various modules and the...
Yeah. That was only in 2000, Heather?
Yeah, that was the first crew.
Seems like it was not that long ago.
Yeah, I know. You're like, wait, no? Huh.
Wow, 12 years ago. So, yeah, boy, I completely forgot how they assembled that thing kind of compartment at a time, and different nations did different parts. Like there's a Canada module up there, and there's...
Yep.
Yeah.
So all the different scientific experiments. So they have one that has a board outside to space, so you can put different materials on there and see how they react to space and how they react to the micrometeorites and all these type of things hitting it, and the sun's light directly hitting it. And we've seen the solar panels and how they've kind of grown. They started off with certain ones, and then the space station got big enough where it needed more power, so they had to upgrade that. So there's a lot of different things that have been going on with it as it has grown and gone on with that nature. So, and totally random space station information. If you've ever seen the picture of it, you'll see, the big solar panels, and then these white, almost ribbon strips coming away. That's folded.
Yeah.
And those are actually irradiators. They're used to dissipate some of the heat that gets built up in the solar panels.
They're kind of like heat sinks in a sense?
Yeah, they're space station heat sinks for the... Almost, yes.
Love
because because solar panels do build up heat, and so that heat sinks them into space.
I wonder how much more efficient the solar panels are up in space than they are down here. They must be considerably more efficient because the atmosphere isn't filtering out some of the sunlight, right? I don't know.
True.
Perhaps that could be a question for future science, because now I must refactor the science computer to look up into the sky.
That's right. This week, Wednesday, October the 31st, got Halloween, should the weather be cooperative in your area. The moon is rising, and it's nearly a full moon. You'll see above the moon you might be able to see a little smudge of stars. That's the Pleiades star cluster. And then once the moon rises higher, actually, you'll be able to see Jupiter to the lower left of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. And then Thursday, November the 1st, a couple hours after sunset, you'll see Jupiter above the moon this time. And then as we move on to Friday, when the moon is pretty high up in the sky, you'll actually see the constellation Orion. That's one of the easier constellations to see because of the 3 belt stars. So you have 3 stars all in a row. And, well, to the constellation, they're tilted like it's a belt hanging off. And then you'll see a large 4 stars in a rectangle shape around it. So it's like the 2 shoulders, the belt, and the 2 legs.
There you go.
So,
yeah, a full moon for Halloween's going to be cool, right? It's big. It's a big moon. Is it not full, though? But
it's not exactly full, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's good enough. Good enough for a spooky Halloween. That'll be great.
Yep.
I got the kids' Halloween costumes ready. I got my Halloween costume. We're going to do a Halloween edition of the faux show tomorrow, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, probably, I'm not usually big on Halloween, but I guess I'm going big this year because the kids are excited. So there you go. All right. Well, just a little reminder that this SciByte is generally live on Tuesdays, but we're going to move it to Thursday next week to make room for the election. So join us Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific over at jblive.tv or jblive.info for the audio. And thank you to the live chat room for joining us this week. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
And Heather, thank you for the great show.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this week's episode of SciByte. We'll see you right back here next week.